everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today I have with me the go-to guy, if you're doing anything in online marketing and business, Mr. Stefan Ciancio.
That was perfect.
He is an online marketer and entrepreneur, and I'm so glad he is with me today because not only do I have questions, I'm pretty sure my audience has lots of questions. So first and foremost, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Now let me get right in because we only have 30 minutes together, and I have learned from doing these things that they go so fast. So let me just jump right in here. Now, glancing at your online presence, it seems like you like Pinterest. And let me be honest with you, Stefan. When it comes to social media, even though I'm in business and entrepreneur and everything like that, I go at it kicking and screaming. It just takes up too much time. I just try to do the minimal as possible. And when it comes to Pinterest, I've always thought it was the arts and crafts and get recipes type place. So what is it about Pinterest that makes it the go-to spot for the online marketer? I mean, what's the scoop? Because I'm missing it.
No, yeah. I mean, a lot of people feel that way about Pinterest. It's like you talk to people and they say, "Oh, I thought it was for pictures of cute puppies and recipes." So that's how everyone feels. But basically, what's really cool about Pinterest is it actually has almost every different topic that you can think of. Every different niche is basically on there. So there's marketing, there is arts and crafts, there is pets, there's parenting, there's health, there's anything to do with like managing money. Basically any niche that you can think of is on there, and there's an audience of people that are basically looking for stuff to either purchase or content to consume. So it's actually a massive content platform. So to kind of go in a little bit more detail on that, what makes it so powerful is that it's actually got a built-in search engine. So if you look at places like Facebook, essentially it's definitely a full-blown social media site. Whereas if you look at Pinterest, there's people typing in a search bar every single day, just like they do in Google. Now, the cool thing is with Pinterest is not only is it that search engine, but it also has that social media component that Facebook has. So it's basically the best of both worlds. You've got the social media aspect, and then you've got the search engine aspect. So what's really cool about that is not only can you get found in the search, but you can also get discovered from other people on Pinterest sharing your stuff. So you get, like I said, that kind of best of both worlds. The other thing is every single thing on Pinterest is in the form of a pin. So for people who don't really know Pinterest, essentially think of like a corkboard in your kitchen. Maybe you call it recipes, maybe you call it whatever, and you pin stuff to it. Pinterest is like a digital version of that.
Okay.
So yeah. So like you have like all these boards. So you have your own profile, and you could make a board called cars maybe. And then in there you digitally pin pictures of cars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every single one of those pins, if you click it, if it's your pin that you put on there, whoever clicks it can go to wherever you want to send them. So you could send them to your website, you could send them to your podcast, you could send them to your YouTube channel, you could send them to a sales page if you want to.
Okay.
So what that means is if you start putting pins on Pinterest, you control where those people go if they click the pin. So you could put up 30 pins a day. Anyone who clicks any of those pins, you're getting a free visitor to your website, to your podcast, to wherever you want to send it. So I actually built one of my websites now has like 1.3 million free visitors from Pinterest already. And I use it for all of my projects. I teach it as well. And essentially, if you're not using Pinterest, it's just such a massive opportunity right now to grow organically. They do have an ad platform just like Facebook and all of the other ones, but right now in terms of organic growth, there's nothing that beats Pinterest. Nothing else comes close. So
Okay. Now you mentioned it does have an ad platform and also the element of growing organically. I know with Facebook and Instagram or whatever, the buying ads is heavily pushed, and it doesn't seem like the marketer can really expand their reach unless they buy advertisement from those particular social media outlets. But Pinterest, it's easier to spend less money marketing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, the 1.3 million visitors I got on one of my sites was entirely organic, so I didn't spend a penny on ads. So it's amazing. I mean, I won't lie to you. I think over time they might start making people spend a little bit more on ads, but I think we're not even close to that point. You know, like they still feature mostly like regular pins when you go to the search. You know, if you're doing so essentially to kind of elaborate more, even though I just gave you a whole mouthful there, but essentially you want to make sure that your pins are search engine optimized. So like if people are typing in the keywords like, you know, recipe for, I don't know, keto recipe or something like that, you want to make sure that your pins have those keywords in their description, because you will start ranking for those different keywords. And it's nothing like ranking in Google right now. It's a piece of cake to rank in Pinterest. So
Okay.
by doing that, you're getting a lot of those people in. And don't forget, not only can they find your pin from the search engine, but now they can go pin it to their own boards. So that
Okay.
means you're getting a viral aspect as well.
Okay. Cool. Now, let me ask you this, because reading your information, online marketing wasn't how you started. You actually went a more traditional route, going the college education or whatever. How did you segue into this whole mystical place of online marketing? Because it is just a wonderful world of mystery.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Well, you know, I've always been kind of entrepreneurial, and I thought about this recently. Well, fairly recently. When I was 14, I wasn't a normal kid. I literally had a website at age 14, and I collected autographs of baseball players through the mail. So I would send letters to them and like send a baseball card and ask them to sign my card. And then I built a website where I would share the results I got. You know, this person, I got his address. I don't even remember how I got all their addresses, but somehow I got all these players' addresses. And I would like keep a list of like, oh, this player didn't sign for me. I sent him a letter 9 months ago. This player signed for me in 2 weeks. And I turned that into an ebook. And then I sold that ebook to people. And I was collecting money through money orders online from random people that did the same hobby that I did, that were paying me like $10 to get my ebook. So I had that kind of online marketing entrepreneurial spirit at a young age. And then I just kind of forgot about it. And I went that traditional route. So I went to college. I got a degree in mechanical engineering. I got a job. And then I was sitting down at age 24 and I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, I should be happy. A lot of people would be really happy to be in my position right now. I have a great job, great benefits. I have all that stuff, but I was just so miserable. You know, I didn't
Mhm,
see myself doing it for the rest of my life. I was like, this is horrible. I don't want to be here till I'm 70.
mhm.
And so a coworker of mine was talking about a relative that would get stuff at garage sales and then resell them on eBay, and they would make a
Okay.
lot of money doing that. So something clicked in my head at that point where I was like, huh, I should make a hobby out of doing something where I make money, because I did have that entrepreneurial spirit in me. It's been dormant for a while at that point. So I essentially started going to garage sales and I would like buy stuff for really cheap and I'd resell it on eBay.
Mhm.
And that awakened something in me, I guess. And and I started like at that point watching YouTube videos of people who were doing the same kind of thing. And I guess in the related videos, I found a guy who was selling books on Kindle Mark. He was doing like Kindle marketing, like selling ebooks. And
Mm.
I said to myself, I'm like, that seems really interesting. And he had a course where he was selling the knowledge of how he was doing that. And, you know, a lot of people said to me, like, oh, that's probably a scam or a semi scam or whatever. And I said, it's like a $47 course. Let me try it out. So I went through that course. I started making money with that method. And at that point, I just kind of realized my calling is not to be at this desk for the rest of my life. My calling is to do something online, something that's more location independent. And essentially, you know, the rest is kind of history. I went down the rabbit hole of learning all the different ways people are making money online and
Uh-huh.
all the different marketing methods. And my business has just kind of evolved over the years. I left my job in 2015. So it's actually just been over five
Congratulations.
years now.
Oh, congratulations. Now, you brought up something that I hear over and over, or a lot of people in the younger generation are struggling with, is there has been this traditional push to go to college, get an education. That is your pathway to the middle class or financial freedom or whatever it is. But now there's a different type of thought that college might not necessarily be the end all to be all, and there are other avenues in which to get some common sense self-education, and you can thrive economically that way. What's your take on that?
I think you said it perfectly. I've been preaching this for a while now to people. It's still, I don't think a lot of people have caught on, but I think the internet changed a lot of things.
Okay.
Not only for people in the United States, but people around the world. Like there's people that were coming from areas where they've had almost no opportunities, and the internet has enabled them to, provide a living for their family. So
Right.
it's I'm a big proponent of self-education. I'm a big proponent of essentially learning a skill within this whole kind of online realm, because like look at it, you and I are connected through the internet right now. This information is going to get out to people because of the internet,
Hmm.
whereas before it was like impossible, unless you got a TV appearance, and that was obviously few and far between. Now anyone could go out there and put their word out there and get their message out. So I think that's such an important skill to learn in some variation, whether it is Pinterest or podcasting or whatever it is. I think that's amazing that we live in this time that we have that opportunity. And I think by understanding that, you can see that there's more opportunity afforded to any other previous generation right now than any time before. And I think by even understanding that a little bit and picking up one skill within this whole realm, you can really transform your life in a big way, you know?
Great, great. Now, for the person who's listening, who is it's so ingrained in them, their comfort zone is the sit behind the desk or the 9 to 5 or whatever it is, um, and they just can't see the vision. What are some ways in which your main hustle or your side hustle can actually be transitioned to online? How can we make some money online? How does that work out?
Sure. So one of the best things to do is sell your knowledge. So that's something that I do. That's part of my business, is teaching people how to do something that I've already done and gotten very good at. So like, for example, it could be anything. There's people selling knitting courses online, so you can find something that you are already good at or already pretty good at. And if you can help people do it. And I think there's a mindset shift that needs to happen in a lot of people where they say, well, I'm not the best at this, so how can I sell it? And there's something I heard a long time ago that helped my own limiting beliefs with this, which is that you only need to know 1% more than someone else to be able to help them get to where they want to go.
Great point.
And if you can help them get to where they want to go, don't you on some level have an obligation to help them? At least
Hmm.
that's how I see it. So, um, you know, I kind of believe wholeheartedly that, whatever skills you have, you should be leveraging those, and when you combine what you do know with that whole online aspect, like exactly what you asked me, I think you just have a massive opportunity to take advantage of that. And, it could be starting a YouTube channel where you maybe give away your lessons for free and you make money from the ads. It could be putting a course together. But, that's only one way there. But I think like for the average person who's sitting home wondering, what can I do? That is absolutely something that you can take advantage of. But there's so many different things, like even the Kindle thing that I was doing for a while. That's amazing. Publish books on Kindle, you get royalties from Amazon. You can do eBay like I was doing for a while. You can build websites and monetize them. You can use Pinterest to grow your website. So there's so much opportunity out there, and even what I'm sharing is just a small tidbit
Okay.
of it.
Okay. Now, we've heard in the news recently a lot of these bigger social media outlets are coming under fire for some things. So we're kind of looking to see that there might be some changes coming along the way. Do you think this will have some sort of impact on online marketing or anything?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of what you said.
Oh, no, no problem. Let me say, so like Facebook, your Googles and all of that stuff, they're
Sure.
they're in the news lately. They're coming under fire for, just too much data collection and all of that stuff. And that is a resource that's used for online marketers. They're dependent on these companies collecting these things, so we can advertise effectively. Do you think that'll have some impact on this whole online marketing thing down the line?
That's a good question. I think there might be some impact, but I think that the internet in the way it is now is so big and so sophisticated that like the smart people, whoever are allowing this to happen, are going to find ways to maybe it needs to adapt on some level.
Hmm.
So for example, like the area that I live in Astoria, Queens in New York. And like right now with all of the restrictions, a lot of businesses are adapting in a way that like, it's like, how are they going to be able to serve food with all the restrictions? How are they going to be able to turn a profit? And they're adapting, so they're outside, they are setting up like these huge outdoor areas, even for the winter, where they can serve outdoor dining. Maybe they use
Mm-hmm.
heat lamps. They have like one part covered. So their businesses are always learning ways to adapt with regulation or whatever. So I think personally that there might be some impact in the short term, but I think long term businesses are going to find a way to survive within whatever regulation might be coming to, maybe close a gap that needs to be closed or something like
Oh,
that. So,
okay.
so
Okay.
personally, like to answer your question, I'm not worried about it.
Okay, great. Now, in your time that you've been on Pinterest and watching other people's channels and you've been on YouTube or whatever, uh, when you're coming across them and you're looking at them, you're like, what do you see online marketers doing wrong that you feel like they could do better?
That's a great question. I think that, like, especially 15 years ago, there was like a whole coalition of like internet marketers, and they had a bad reputation as kind of like flashing the cars and flashing all of that stuff and being
Mm,
like, hey, go through this landing page to figure out how to make money. Or they bought a course and it was really low quality. I think that what it comes down to is just try to be authentic and be honest. I don't think you have to lie. I think if you have like a real skill that you can sell, focus on making like just be transparent, you know what I mean? Like if you're properly representing what you're selling, I think that's all you need to do. I don't think you need to go to the level of lying about it. Just properly represent what you have. If it's something good, I think people are going to be able to see the authenticity versus something that's like definitely fake.
okay.
So I think I still see a lot of marketers going down that path of like total false claims and all of that stuff. And I think like, as long as you can focus on like what's true and you could just like, hype that up, focus on that, I think people can kind of tell the difference.
Okay. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's kind of like the MLL rabbit hole. Like if you sell 20 of these and get 20 people signed on, you'll be rich in 20 days. So, be authentic and find a product or something that's am I understanding what you're saying correctly?
Yeah, be authentic. I think don't lie. I think that's
Mm,
a big one. I think there's a lot of mistrust with false claims in almost any industry these days.
okay.
So be authentic, and I think if you do that, you're not going to ever really have it bite you in the butt.
Okay. Okay. Great tips. Great tips. Now, besides Pinterest, you have a few other things that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Could you share with us some of those things that you're doing besides the Pinterest guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the other things I'm involved in is I've been using webinars over the years to sell stuff. And
Okay.
webinars are very powerful because you get to interact with a group of people uh, in an intimate setting online. You might have 100 people on, you might have 300 people on, and you get to interact with them in the chat box. And you can actually, really build a relationship with these people where they feel like they understand your product, they trust you, they understand a little bit more about what you're selling, and because it's so long form, they get their questions answered. So it takes down a lot of those psychological barriers that stop people from buying things.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been using them to sell stuff for the past, I don't know, 3 years, and they're really, really effective. And one of the things now that's become pretty popular is auto webinars. And essentially what that is when you can have your best webinar presentation and you could just run it on a loop to people who want to watch it. And you could still have a chat room there where you could have either an employee or yourself or someone answer the questions as they come in. So you
Mm-hmm.
might have someone watching that presentation at all different hours of the day, but as the questions come in, you can just either answer them or have someone else answer them. So now you don't have to keep giving those presentations live. And, it's actually amazing because if you're presenting live, there could be technical hiccups,
Mm-hmm.
there could be, you could forget your line, whatever it is. So you could actually be really hurting your business. And sometimes your presentation just isn't as good as the previous one that you've given.
Okay.
So having that best recorded presentation of your webinar and being able to loop it is really, really powerful because now you're selling all day and you're selling
Uh-huh.
the best version of yourself, the best version of your presentation all day. So I partnered with a good friend and we built a software called Webinar Kit. And Webinar Kit is a auto webinar platform that lets you sell your service or product all day via an automated webinar. And it's just been really, really great. So that's another thing I'm involved in. I am involved in what else? We have another software called Growth Commander, which is a content marketing software. And essentially what that does is it lets you automate your content being posted across Facebook, across Twitter, and
Okay.
we have like viral content search. So what that means is, like, let's say your website is about, I'll use the knitting example again, and you want to put some content out there that you think is going to generate some buzz. You can research what knitting content out there is really popular right now. I don't think knitting ever makes the news, but you know what I mean. You can find, like, okay, this other post from this other website got 1,000 shares last month related to knitting. So now you have an idea what kind of content is working in my industry, what kind of things are people responding to.
Okay.
So our tool also in Growth Commander allows you to do that. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the main things that I'm focusing on, unless I'm forgetting something. But I've got I use Pinterest to run a few of my websites. I also teach people how to do the same for their business. And then I've got the 2 software that we're working on growing as well.
That's great. Now, I love to see how the mindset and, transitioning from old to new. Because when you talked about the first thing, the webinar, the first thing that came to my mind was I used to watch the as seen on TV commercials over and over and over again when I was younger. But it seems like that you're using that and transitioning that philosophy to the internet now, which is just wonderful, where you can see the product, but you also have the question and answer segment as well. Also, it gives me the feeling of, what was that the TV station you could shop at home?
Or the Home Shopping Network.
Yes, it's kind of one of those things. So I kind of like that feel. That's kind of that's kind of
That's the way
great.
to put it. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is that, and like, it just goes back to that whole internet thing, like you can go out and start selling your stuff now.
Now, when you mentioned the other thing with the content posting, and that would work for me because, like I said, I hate to be tied down to the social media. So it would give me an opportunity to kind of set some up. But am I understanding correctly? Is it in a line with this whole hashtag philosophy concept?
Uh, yeah, I mean, you can put some hashtags in your content for sure. I always saw the hashtags as more of like, it just helps you get a little bit more reach on your content, if you put a few hashtags at the bottom. So, yeah, I mean, your content of your post and then like putting a few hashtags at the bottom, it's all kind of like a different piece to the puzzle.
Okay, okay. Now, me and my naiveness, going back to Pinterest, does Pinterest have hashtags?
Believe it or not, they do. Yeah, they just started that actually. It was like I think like 6 months, a year ago at this point. So not super recent, but they actually did start their hashtag stuff. I know Instagram has been king of hashtags for a really long time, but yeah, they started their hashtag game a little bit too. So
Okay, okay. Now, are you one of the online marketers that believes that a person or a business should have as many varieties and options as social media, or should you focus on two or three, like your Pinterest and maybe Instagram, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. I think when I started online, I was more like, oh, got to be everywhere, got to be doing everything. But you start realizing that you're just kind of like really diverting your energy in a million different directions, and you're not really
Mhm.
focusing on growing like one or two things. So to your point, I think I am more of that philosophy now where it's like focus on like, one to two, maybe three things max. Don't try to be doing everything at once. You're just going to burn out. It's you're if especially if you're a one person team. If you have the money to get a team to help you with some of those other channels, I think by all means do it. But if you're a one man operation and you're just starting out and you don't have the budget, I recommend just focusing on one, maybe two things max, and just like going down that path. And if it's yielding fruit, keep doing it. Once you hit pay dirt, don't say, okay, I know this works, let me go do a million other things. I've done that, and it's just really stupid because you end up losing a lot of money in the long run. You lose a lot of visibility, and it's just better to focus on like a few things once you find something that works.
Okay. Now we've been talking about different social media platforms today. One that we haven't brought to mind, and I'm just wondering, do you feel it's effective in any kind of way? Is Twitter? Do you use Twitter at all?
It's a good question. I don't really use Twitter. I don't even know if I still have one. I know I had one, I had one for my business like at some point, but I don't even know if
Mhm.
it's still there or what. So, that's one platform I just never really focused on. And I guess to my point earlier, like, it's just like it's like I'm so focused on these other things that are working. I haven't really said, oh, let me go move over to Twitter or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, I just it just seems to be out there in the galaxy, not really sure what to do with itself. So I've always wondered about that. So we go to Pinterest and we set up an account, and like I said, I am clueless. So we can have blog posts there, and how do
Yeah,
you I guess I'm wondering, how do you monetize the whole thing?
sure. Well, so you make your profile, you decide for example, let's say your business is about knitting again, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you set up your profile, maybe you put your title, I don't know, knitting for beginners or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you put down 10 different boards. So you can create these boards, right? So maybe one is like, maybe you title one board like, five or best knitting techniques. Maybe another board is called cool knitting designs.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe another is knitted scarves. Maybe another is knitted hats. Maybe another is knitted socks. So what you do is you put those boards up, and then you create pins. So a pin is just like I said, think of it like the cork board in your kitchen, and you pin like a recipe to it or whatever. It's like a picture,
Mm-hmm.
digital version of that. And then when you make those, you can make as many of those as you want. You pin them to your profile, and like let's say I want to sell like something I knitted, like a knitted. I'll use a knitted scarf as an example, right? So I'll take that picture of my knitted scarf, and I'll put it up there, and that's now a pin. That's something that people will see is that picture. It's just an image, but it's called a pin, and I pin it into my knitted scarves board.
Okay. Okay.
But remember, I can link to my website where I sell that.
Okay, I got you. So you link it to your website where you sell it, or Etsy, or what, Shopify, whatever like that, right?
Exactly.
Got you. You know, I'm a little old. Takes a little while for it
No,
to
it's
click.
perfect. You nailed it.
It takes a minute for the light bulb to click on. Like, oh, okay, I got it now. I really had only, because my mother and a few of her friends, they swear about, but they're only there for, like I said, the recipes or the
Mhm.
arts and crafts, and that's all I've ever. But now I know more. I might actually have to go look into it and see where it's at.
Yeah, definitely. It's really great.
Alrighty, Stefan, we are at the end of the 30 minutes here. So it's time for my random question. And then I want you to tell everybody how they get in touch with you. So we're going to do the random question. See what we've got here. Best place you've had a burger at. You're from New York, so you guys are full of food places, right?
Yeah, definitely. Best place I've had a burger at. Oh man. I would have to say there's a place in Valhalla, New York called the Valhalla Crossing. It's like a train restaurant. It's like right at a train station. I think pieces of the restaurant are actually a derailed train. I actually used to work there when I was younger, but they have a really, really good burger.
Awesome. Great. So we'll have to visit there when we get out of this COVID-19 stuff. All righty. So, Stefan, please tell everybody how they connect with you so you can give some more detailed pointers on online marketing and all of that stuff. How do we get in touch with you?
My website is actiontakingblogger.com.
actiontakingblogger.com. Well, I thank you for taking the time to give this old lady some tips on how to get involved with Pinterest and all of that stuff. I appreciate your time. I wish you much success, and you're just out there doing it, and keep on doing your thing. I'm so tickled, just so excited to hear.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time. Oh.